2020 was such a hard year on all of us. A lot of bad things happened, but some good could come out of that, possibly. One of the things I noticed was there was an actual awakening in America, a realization that we do have a problem when it comes to race and equality and social justice. For that reason, I asked a few friends if they'd be willing to have a conversation with me about social injustice, economic equality, and race. So I asked them a few questions. Let's get started with Andy Murray, Chief Procurement Officer of Gilead Sciences. Andy, thanks for being here with me. So why do you feel economic equality for minority groups is important in this country, and how does supply diversity fit in?
First, Cecil, thank you very much for the chance to be here and respond to these very important questions. The wealth gap between America's richest and poorer families more than doubled from 1989 to 2016, according to Pew Research. The black-white income gap in the U.S. has persisted over time. Median black household income was 61% of median white household income in 2018. This is often due to a lack of opportunity and inclusion. I think one would have to be very tone deaf not to acknowledge that. One of Gilead's core values is inclusion. That expectation resonates with me personally, and we extend it to our suppliers. We are working to have our supply base reflect the diversity of our employees and our patients. Our procurement guidelines require we include diverse suppliers in our competitive bidding. And from that, Gilead benefits as well. We get the benefit of typically what is greater flexibility and responsiveness, where larger suppliers may not be as agile as our diverse suppliers. And it's been a very good and mutually beneficial approach for Gilead.
Wow, Andy, that was great. Tell me, why have you chosen to personally become a champion and an ally for diversity and equality?
Great question, Cecil. And there are a number of reasons. I'll tell you, working at Gilead, I've become aware of racial and social inequities more so than ever before, and particularly in the U.S. around healthcare. HIV and AIDS disproportionately affects Latinos, transgender women, African-American women, African-American gay and bisexual men. And due to stigma, poverty, lack of access to healthcare, this is a real crisis in America. Black and African Americans in this country have the highest rates of new HIV infections every year compared to other races. This needs to change. These communities need and deserve the same standard of care that others have. This extends to many areas of economic opportunity as well. For this to happen in a meaningful and sustainable way, guys like me, old white guys, need to get off and stay off the sidelines. We need to engage and give our sincere efforts to making a difference.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. That's powerful stuff, powerful stuff. So what is your message to non-minority people who may think that the current efforts in this country to move towards racial equality and economic justice may be misplaced or even reverse discrimination? What's your response to that?
Cecil, I say wake up. White privilege is real. A common saying is that non-minority folks are born on second base and grow up feeling like they've hit a double. In my case, being raised by a single mother, often we struggled quite a bit. So maybe I was born on first base. But if I'm honest, I was likely given more chances than many minorities would have received in those situations. Be aware of that, acknowledge that. We've got to be able to take a look in that mirror and be honest with ourselves. But when we do, we also need to be aware of something called unconscious biases. We all have them. At Gilead, people managers are trained to recognize these, and they're far more subtle than overt racism, but they can also be very damaging. We use an acronym for this called SEEDS, and it stands for Similarity, Expedience, Experience, Distance, and Safety. I'm just going to talk about one of them today, that's similarity. When hiring people, similarity bias is something we have to be extremely mindful of. It's easier to, unconsciously in many cases feel and relate to someone who looks like you've set yourself. That's a human nature thing to do. So what do we do to try to mitigate those biases? Well, for starters, we want to make sure that we have diverse panels when we interview people. I want to make sure it's not just non-minorities. We want to make sure that's representative of the Gilead employee base. And I'm glad to say we've got a rich degree of diversity at Gilead. And as a result, I think we have a much stronger company and work product. So being careful about your unconscious biases is a way to do something to address what I think is just inequality that is endemic in our society.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. And I want to thank my friend for being so bold to have this conversation with me. Our world's not going to change unless you get involved. These are uncomfortable conversations, but that's the way we're going to solve these problems. So I urge you, keep on talking, get involved. And if you want to learn more about economic justice, look us up on wrmsdc.org, or you can search us #WRMSDC. Thanks for watching.